Hello there my lovely jewelry makers, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and in today's video I'm going to be trying out the Sculpfun Cam500. So this is a camera for a laser, and that might sound a little odd, and I'll be honest, the first time I saw it I was a little bit unsure what it was about myself and how useful it would actually be. But Sculpfun reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try it, as I previously tried the laser, and I said yes because even though I was a bit unsure, I was also quite curious. And just to let you know straight away, I was very wrong, because I've now definitely been converted to a camera for lasers. Now, like I said, I wasn't quite sure what this was going to be like, because I kind of assumed it was just a camera that would be recording the lasering process and that was it. But that's definitely not the case. There's actually a lot more to it, and if you're into lasering and you maybe been thinking about trying out a camera, I would actually highly recommend it, because like I said, I'm definitely sold on it. So first, of course, we needed to unbox it and then also put it together, because you kind of have to get it set up and everything, and that is one thing. It can be a little bit fiddly to set up, and obviously making sure it's all going to work correctly in cooperation with Lightburn if that's what you're using. And it wasn't so much that it was difficult, there was just kind of a lot of steps to it. But once you've done it once, it definitely is easier to have to do it again. And now if you want to use this on different lasers, you will have to reset it up every time. And also sometimes maybe on the laser that you've got it on, you want to just go through the setup process again just to make sure it's basically calibrated properly. But like I said, once you've done it once, it does become easier. So everything you need to be able to use the camera does come with it in the box. Of course, you need to have the laser and Lightburn yourself separately. But another bonus is with this specific camera, it actually fits not just the Scupfun laser, but also other lasers. Because if you're looking at different lasers, they have different frames. So basically the way you would attach the camera, you would need a different kind of attachment for the different kinds of lasers. Some lasers have a thinner frame, kind of like the Scupfun one, whereas other lasers have a thicker frame. But this actually accommodates for both of that, so you don't have to just use it with the Scupfun laser. And I always appreciate when brands do that, so it's not just confined to the products of the same brand. But anyway, once we got it set up and working properly, it was time to test it out. And basically this is where I discovered how useful it actually is. Of course you can use it to record the process of the lasering, which I originally thought was the kind of only purpose of it. But beyond that, you can actually use it to help the lasering process itself. So what you actually get is a live view in Lightburn, and basically it will help you place everything and frame things directly through Lightburn on your computer, and basically that tells the machine where to laser, whether that's cutting or engraving. So for instance, if you have a sheet where you've already used it, but you want to take advantage of the material the best that you possibly can, so basically have minimum wastage, you can use the camera on your computer in Lightburn and then place whatever you want to cut or engrave in the program, and then it tells the machine where to cut exactly. So basically, you don't have to kind of fiddle around with the machine and frame things. You can do it directly in Lightburn, and it is very precise. And this is where I think it's a really brilliant feature for using with lasers, because it really helps minimize the wastage of materials, take advantage of every little bit of space that you have left. And that's what ended up really selling me on a camera like this, because it makes it so much more useful than just filming the process, which obviously is also a cool feature. So we did test it out a bit where we kind of had some scrap pieces of plywood that we'd used previously, and there was some space left on it, but we wanted to test how precise you could get it, where you would place it in the software and see if the laser would then cut it that precisely in real life. And basically it worked perfectly. So we had a little space between some previously cut out pieces, and we then placed a new shape right up against some of those edges of the areas previously cut out, and it basically did it perfectly. So the piece we cut out was the perfect shape that we want it to be, but it was so close to the edge that basically it kind of created an opening, but the piece was still intact. And that is literally the best way to take advantage of the material, and we couldn't have done that if we were just kind of going by eye, the normal way we would frame pieces. So it basically got me to want to use a camera every time we use a laser, just because it makes everything so much more precise and easier to line up instead of doing it by eye. And like I said, wasting much less material as well, which is quite a big deal, especially if you want to use it for something like a business. The less wastage you have, obviously the better. Now what we then ended up making is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I have a room in our house here where I basically call it my warehouse. So I have everything for orders that I get, obviously laser stuff in there. And I've been wanting to get a sign on that door saying warehouse for a while, just because I have a sign on my studio door, and I kind of thought it'd be cool to have one on the warehouse as well. So I ended up creating the sign that I wanted in Photoshop, and then we got the laser to cut it out, and we used the camera to position this, and it just worked really perfectly. It was a nice and easy process, like I said, once you kind of got the whole thing set up. And I did also want to cut some stars. I'm not entirely sure yet what to use them for. I have an idea, but I haven't actually used them yet. But we did cut some stars out, and you can see as well the way we lined them up was to try and take the best advantage of the material as possible. So waste the least that we possibly could. And of course, once we got it all cut out, I did need to paint the sign because it needs to fit the branding, which of course is purple for me. So first of all, I gave it a coat of gesso just for that clean base, and then I started painting it purple. And I just gave it a couple of coats just to get a nice coverage all over. Of course I didn't bother painting the back because that's just going to be against the wall anyway. But to then attach it to the wall, we then just used some double-sided foam tape that I just attached in a few key places to make sure I wasn't going to fall off, of course. And then we just had to attach it to the door. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. So I think it just fits perfectly and it looks really nice. Of course, it's on brand for me. And even though, of course, we didn't need the sign for the door, it just kind of feels nice having it there. And then it also matches my studio door. So I now have a sign on my warehouse door that I've been wanting for a while. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it was really helpful using the Sculpfun Cam500 camera. And we'll definitely be using it every chance we get when working with lasers because it really makes the process so much easier. So thank you very much to Sculpfun for sending this to me to try out. I really appreciate it, and like I said, I'm definitely sold on it. Can highly recommend giving it a try yourself if you're interested. Of course, links will be in the description box down below. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.